Okay, hopefully my head's not in this shot when I start working. I'm gonna work on cover idea for a graphic novel that my friend and I are working on. Alright, so I got my reference back there, which is something I drew in charcoal about what seems like 100 years ago. We'll get in here and get started. Alright, she's like this. I think the character actually has both. We determine that she's gonna have she's missing a leg, so she's got a stump from where there was like an accident where a tree fell on her leg and it had to be cut off in order for her to make it out alive. And then my reference there, she only has one hand. Not sure what she'll do with this one, but I'll just make it like this for now and figure it out as I go. I'm gonna move this paper so I can actually see what I've got there. The character, Naomi, she is in this part of the story is an adult, and no longer her feet even show in this. I don't think so. So just make sure her dress is long enough. And then yeah, so she's an adult at this point, and make sure this pot has some motion, or cauldron, I guess that's what this is. She isn't really a witch, or at least not in a traditional sense, the way that I would understand it. Or, you know, if you are a Harry Potter fan or something like that, she's not that kind of a witch. Kind of has the, I don't know what magical realism stuff is what we're dealing with. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get this drawing through here to make sure that I've got these handles that are attached to the cauldron in sort of the right spot. And I'll make adjustments as I go. I'm not sure if I'll do this in watercolor or with some other paints or what, but we'll get there. This was based off a reference photograph that was just like in a reference pack of pictures that I got on Proko.com, which it's a Stan Prokopenko art website that I'm a very big fan of. I learned a lot from that website, and also from their podcast Draftsman, which I highly recommend for anybody who is interested in art and draftsmanship. I was fortunate enough to briefly be in, or well, I mean, I was in this class the whole time, but there's a class that Marshall Vandruff, who's one of the, I guess, I don't know, he's sort of like Stan Prokopenko's, I don't know if, I don't know. I'd have to ask Marshall if he considered himself Stan's mentor or not. but he taught a class on drawing from Bridgman, which is the George Bridgman anatomy book, which I have. I got a few anatomy books these days, and have read through them completely 0 times, but there has been a lot of information that I've gathered from all those books that I've been able to put into practice. And most of the books that were recommended, okay, that arm is probably a little too long maybe, but I'll figure that out in a bit. And some of this stuff is going to be obscured, so this robe that she's got on, this arm is behind her, this stuff is forward, so it's like supposed to be a big kind of feathery robe. So this Naomi has a lot of magpies who have become her family, basically. And so she is, or my vision of her is that she's much more, her clothes resemble the creatures that she spends a lot of time around, I guess. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my kneaded eraser here, erase part of this cauldron because it is behind her robe. All right, and then I'm gonna start darkening some of the stuff that's supposed to be in shadow. Her jaw is a bit big here, but there is supposed to be some cast shadow under there, and she's not supposed to be conventionally attractive as a result of a lot of warts that probably won't be, like, I can't do too much with the warts at this size. Like, I'm not going to be able to get them super detailed just because of the I guess the distance that we would be looking at this image from. Okay, so there's that. I don't really need to do too much with that stuff. Her clothing, it's all kind of like either secondhand, I guess, or stuff that, again, this is all the stuff that I'm imagining, not necessarily what Dustin Hoffman, who's the author, Dustin Michael Hoffman, a good friend of mine and writer and teacher at Winthrop University. He may or may not have envisioned it the exact same way here, but we're working on this as a team, so we gotta both sort of add our own stuff as we go through this. That way it's not just, that way there are some surprises. I feel like if you work on something with somebody and none of it's surprising, could get pretty stale. I don't like the way that hand looks, so I'm gonna get it out of there and redo this handle. Make it back around. I'm not even 100% sure I want to keep this in here at this point. So her hand, it's swinging. I don't know what I don't think that cauldron could even be. Also, does she need the cauldron? Don't know. maybe not. She's supposed to have some, she has like a flintlock pistol. Saw a ton of those when I went to the Chicago Museum of Art. That was pretty amazing. They just happen to have, I don't know how many, 100 maybe. It was pretty nuts. Okay, so yeah, this arm, I'm still not liking what's going on with the size of the arm, or at least I'm not liking the size of the arm in comparison to the size of the other arm. So if that arm is behind her, I'm saying that it is, she could, I don't know what to have her do with this hand. All right. That's, you know, that's pretty claw-like, number one, and number two, it's not meant to be the final thing. I'm just gonna get something in there. I also need to sharpen this lead a little bit. I'm just starting to get the hang of this lead pointer. So it's this thing here. I kind of like it. I was using a mechanical pencil for a very long time for this kind of stuff, and I did like it, but I like this better. The lead's less apt to break. I'm doing a lot less. Spend a lot less time clicking it up. Okay. What do we need to do a little bit more of at this point? I'm not gonna do a cauldron for the time being. I might come back to that. So, you know, there's room up here for the title. So I'll just do it right if I'm gonna do it at all. Just the advice that I'm sure I would give my children. So let's just do it like this. Get my straight edge out. And hopefully this down here is straight. I don't have the best, I do really like this desk. My dad got this desk for me, just from Michaels. So this is, or excuse me, Hobby Lobby. That was on super duper sale sometime. And we went in there and got it. But anyways, you can see that's not straight, but that's not a big deal right now. And probably the way that I would add the lettering to this. We're getting some magpie shapes in here. These wings are supposed to sort of go up, I think, so. And then I'm trying to look to see some of the magpies that I've drawn in the past to see if there's any good ones, but we'll just have this thing back here and the head would be down. Just give it a beak. I do the eyes. The eyes are pretty big, I think. Maybe not. Maybe you wouldn't be able to see them. The head shape is up. So yeah, it doesn't look like I did a I don't think I did any that were flying at this angle, but the tail feathers are kind of like this. And for anyone who's like a ornithologist, I'm not making these magpies as to be like a scientific drawing, so any inconsistencies with actual magpies is not a huge concern for me. you know, they mostly just need to look like kind of spooky-ish birds, I guess. This one's flying kind of towards her. I guess maybe it's looking at her hand, and that could be good. Maybe it's making it look like it's thinking about perching there, which could be a good. Could be good. She is like so. Yeah, so she's gonna be smiling. I'm gonna start adding a little bit more over here to get the right shape of the face. Can't see her eyes from the shadow. That's totally fine. Alright, so what I want anyway, and this is just her hood covering her face, and then down here this is like a very, very dark shadow right under her chin. Alright. More birds probably. So I'm gonna have some other shapes. This is coming this way, this is coming this way. Do another one over here maybe that's look at the shape of the beak again. It's kind of sort of rounded down, I guess, and then I don't know if these are way too big or what, but this one's kind of flying in from off the page. Yeah, if I remember correctly, there's something about the way that when they flap their wings, the wing is like can curve, it's slightly curved forward, which wasn't something that I had anticipated seeing when I looked at the references. Pretty cool. Alright. But then this goes like so. It's more like it has a more round. So I'm looking at a reference that I drew in charcoal that's on my wall. I don't know that I like that drawing, but I'm mostly right now what I'm hoping to do here is get a lot of this stuff placed. I don't know that I'll get to inking before. If I choose to ink. I don't know if I'll get to inking before I'm going to head out of here to pick up my daughter at preschool, but just in case this hand stays, I'm going to fix a little bit of the anatomy. Yeah, I don't know. I want her to have kind of these long, bony fingers, sort of. I mean, that one's too long. It's longer than the middle finger, so that was no good, but it could be good. I don't know if she wears a belt or if she has bracelets or anything. The ground down here, I have, yeah, I mean, I've got them in the version I have on the wall. I've got like frog and some stuff up here. I'm wondering if she's, so this arm's back, these are forward. That means her weight is kind of coming this way, which means that there's potential for me to get the stump. I would look at my phone for a stump reference, but what I'm going to do really quickly, I know this is probably poor form for streaming, but you know, since I have generally an audience of 0, it's probably not that big of a deal right now. I don't think anyone's going to be too sad. Okay, let me get in here. And we'll look at a peg leg. I can make, let's see, images. I bet there's a bunch of really elaborate and cool versions of these that were made back in the day. They've got them in Second Life. Let's see. I'm imagining something that has to get strapped on, like with a leather, like a belt, basically, and then also wooden. She lives with loggers in the woods in, you know, a fantastical medieval time, and it's not real. It's not the real world, or it's not a real time in history. But I still want it to feel real. All right. There's some very, very weird like, I just did a Google image search for peg leg, and there's like pork ribs showing up for some reason. Like, I don't know if that's a restaurant chain or something. But yes. Wow, I'm kind of disappointed. I assumed there would be a lot more examples of this, but I suppose if most of these are made out of wood, or the ones that are made out of wood are the ones that I'm interested in seeing, that probably didn't survive that well. Oh, this looks pretty cool. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, you're not going to be able to see it, or at least not be able to see the image, but this is like, it's got like a belt to strap it to the thigh, the lower thigh, like the quadriceps area, for anyone who's familiar with that. And then it also has, which is pretty cool, I hope that's, let me move my light back just a bit in case that's just way too bright. I don't know. It has like a, kind of like this pencil has a place to replace the lead. It actually has a slot where you could, I can't see how you tighten the mechanism, but it's like you could put a replacement, we'll call it the foot portion. You could put a replacement foot in there. That's pretty cool. All right, so that means her upper leg, she's coming this way, that leg's that way. This leg is going to be like this a bit, and then so her thigh would be like so. Does she have a knee? I don't know. Just for the time. I mean, you wouldn't. Well, I mean, it's possible that we'll make it so that could be seen. I mean, it's not like anybody's in charge of this other than me right now. So, but so her knee would be like in here. The leg would sort of have to go like this, and then there is a strap that like wraps around here, like that. I'm kind of drawing stuff that I'm not sure if it's going to be peeking out of the, it's not going to be, I'm not sure if it's going to be showing through the actual dress that she's wearing, or robe, or whatever it is that she has on. But I want to make sure that I remember what it's supposed to look like in the future when I do it again. Now, this leather strap, I don't know if she would have, like if she would take the strap, pull it around, and then kind of like pull it up through, or what. But then we've got this portion of the artificial leg goes like this, and then there is a metal insertion point here that is attached to the tip, and then that is where the actual the part of the wood that she stands on is coming through. And the one that was in the reference that I am using was kind of, you could see that the wood, as it had been had pounded into the ground, you know, I don't know, thousands of times, was starting to get worn a bit and start to actually like get smushed, kind of, or compacted, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Anyway, so I'm not 100% sure if, I feel like she should still have a knee, maybe. But I'll absolutely have to figure that out. And this is just incorrect. Like if you see the weight wouldn't be like that. So like there's no way, well, I guess it could because it's an artificial limb. So yeah, that's actually probably something that I'm going to end up having to watch some YouTube videos on to see, to watch the gait of someone who's wearing an artificial limb. That way I can see sort of how that works. And I'm sure it's going to be different, you know, for somebody who has it at the knee versus somebody who has it, you know, the upper thigh or at the hip or you know, wherever. It's going to change it some. Okay, but let me get this resolved here. So think about the hips as if they were like a bucket. That's there. All right, and then I'm just gonna try to figure this out. That seems, yeah, and then this is the bottom of the knee here. Okay, so if that's the case, then the leg is gonna be somewhat at this angle, but to walk with it, I don't think you could do that. You kind of have to, it kind of goes down straight, right? And then you kind of have to hop maybe? No, or not hop, but it's down and then you swing your other leg and then you pick it up and you set it down and then swing your other leg, set it down, swing your other leg. That's how I'm picturing it. So anyway, I'm just going to make sure that this is firmly planted straight into the ground, right, like that. And then, you know, figure out at some point how elaborate I want to make that like how elaborate I want to make the actual design of the leg. I think I'll try to make it look pretty cool. I mean, well, you know, make it look cool in my mind. And then we've got that. Add this here. And the wood section. Yeah, so, and then behind, back in here, it's going to be dark, just because that's the, like, inside of the robe. I got to erase some of these lines in here because, you know, you wouldn't see that portion of her thigh and stuff. All right, this is like this kind of like, what is that called? A shawl? A caftan? I don't know. Should probably ask somebody, some clothing folks. All right, and then we got this right here is another sort of, try and do this sort of like in these feathery layers. And so this one comes under the arm. It's gonna be dark in there. And then we'll have, I guess, this will be like this. You know, this is all just shapes, so it doesn't matter all that much if it could work in reality, so long as it looks right in the end. Okay, and then I think down here it can't be out as far, and I'll just try and get this sort of stuff going here. Yeah, perfect. These are all just basically feathers, and then this is just the section where her leg goes down into it, and this is supposed to be straight up and down. Yeah, sorry. So I'm also thinking about some perspective stuff here, so this should be straighter because the leg is down inside of it, and then if the knee is there, it's gotta sort of be like that, I guess. This is gonna go this way. She's living with this leg all the time in the woods with a knife, so I don't know, she probably has etched something into it at some point. I don't know, would she etch maybe she'd carve like some sort of magpie thing. He's also always just followed around by magpies, so I don't know, she might not need a calling card, but we'll just say that she sort of etched this little magpie thing in here. This is supposed to be metal down here, but I'm not doing this, and it won't be finalized in pencil, but in order to make it look metal, I could do that right there, so it sort of looks like there's a highlight on it. Okay, so she's stepping forward. I don't know how fast she's stepping forward, but her dress Shouldn't quite be that big. If she has a cape on, maybe. Or if this caftan is getting... I'm trying to think about what other elements of movement I can add to this. Man, I'm not sure if... So her... Is that long enough or is it too short? So I'm trying to determine again about the leg. I'm sort of wondering if maybe we should cover that up some more with this stuff, just because not the physics, the anatomy there, sort of searching a little more than I'd like to be. But since the ground plane is here, I do know that this needs to be, we need that to be curved down below the ground plane, and then I can figure out if I want to do more to, and this is supposed to be square-ish. All right, stepping back. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to use the word despise, but I despise that magpie that I drew there. It's doing no good. Doing no good. Okay. So this is plague time. We should probably get some skulls in here, some bones or something. Oh yeah. Yeah, maybe this... Oh, do we want that magpie flying around with a bone in its mouth? Why not? Alright, so we got... Let's say this is a... I mean, I can't believe that a magpie could carry a whole... femur. But, so we're gonna pretend this magpie's got a femur in its mouth. Or its beak, sorry. I do know enough about the bird anatomy to know that birds have beaks. Do all birds have beaks? I don't, that I guess I don't know. I would assume. But assumptions are how you get kicked out of ornithological societies. Okay, so that bird is flying with a giant femur in its mouth, and it looks absurd. So, let's see. Kind of want to know. Oh, yeah. I'll move this camera angle a bit. See if I can't get it closer to the actual art. Okay, that seems pretty reasonable, and I imagine that will also make it so that less of my face is in there, or whatever happens to be. All right, this bone in the bone in the bird's mouth, which is it's definitely going to be the name of the band, my new band. That absolutely have time to start. Will be called Bone in the Bird's Mouth, so look out for our new album in 2097. All right. So that bird is doing its bird thing again. We can remove that. Yeah, so... Jeez. All right, so perspective. Yeah, so the leg is it's going down like that, and then this is like this, and then this thing is curved, and it's going to be slightly covering the wooden portion, and then I need to add in this metal thing that also is going to be slightly curved, because not because of the ground plane, but because of the position of the leg. But the issue for me is I'm not 100% sure, because I've drawn this dress and I didn't do the full figure, which was probably foolish, but it won't be the last time I make a choice like that. I can't really picture how the leg is positioned, but if I am to imagine that she's bent more up at the torso and not as much at the legs for whatever reason. You know, what is this pose? This pose is just supposed to be dynamic in a way so that it's more interesting to look at than if she's just standing straight up and down, which is pretty boring. So if I can imagine that she's just, this leg is straight up and down and this leg is kind of more or less here, then I think this could work. And you know, it's not like this has to be the cover or anything, or this even ever has to be anything more than what it is right this moment. But I still want to take it as far as I can and learn as much as I can from this process, so that when it is time to do a cover in the future, I'm ready, or more ready. Okay. Let's see here. So start adding some shading here. This hood is, there we go, that's better. She's also bald. It's hidden by the hood here. I don't know if this hood is supposed to be part of the caftan or what. This arm is going to be shaded a bit. This arm is going to be shaded underneath. This pinky should not, I mean, yeah, these hands are a little, maybe too skinny of fingers, but I think it's better to have the hands bigger than smaller, just because they're more, it's easier to read the hands when they're a little bigger than when they're smaller. All right, how's Naomi's? Yeah, it's dark in there. Okay. This fabric of this shirt. Just trying to figure out the position of her upper body, just so I can get contours. All right, and this is open. That's fine. Maybe this. Okay, so I'm trying to think of the reasoning behind, like, why is there a hole here? And my defense presently is that there's a hole here because of this peg leg, or artificial leg. In case, I mean, I don't know, maybe that's seen as the peg leg could potentially be a something that's rude or could hurt somebody's feelings or something. So I'll call it an artificial wooden leg. that. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is doing what it needs to do here for the time being. Yeah. All right, let's start getting to work on some other aspects. Now, the more birds, whether or not they're even, or not the more birds, but having more birds sort of in various positions and in various levels of detail, I think will really enhance this a bit. So I'm gonna start trying to, and that's right, they have the wings sort of go like that. And this one is back here. I want some of them to be more detailed than others, and some of them to be sort of just looking like they're, you know, like this bird back here. We're just pretending it's flying in the other direction, and also purposefully not very detailed because I don't want it to be the focus. I want that bird back there, like all these other birds. The idea is to get us looking at Naomi. What is she looking at? I don't know. Okay, there. I'm looking at, I'm not sure if I want to include these frogs. I had like a lot of mushrooms, or not a lot, I guess, but I did have some mushrooms included in the other one, and I kind of like mushrooms for this environment, just because they're pretty fun to draw, to be honest, and there's a lot of variety, and they're not too complicated. So, like, for instance, this mushroom is, I want it to be directing the focus towards Naomi, so I have it in that angle, at that angle. That's a giant mushroom. As you can see, it's like as big as one of her legs. You know, I've never seen a mushroom that large. I don't know that any mushroom is that large in the world. But like I said, this is not the real world, so it doesn't really matter. All right, try to just do this like this way. This is kind of like the one that I was doing before, but this is going to be less, it's going to be smaller, and so hopefully, like, yeah, I think more or less, I'm getting away with it more. I can already feel it than I did the last time. So get like this, and this. And then it kind of comes out like that, let's just say. Still, you know, it's not perfect. But don't care if it's perfect. I just need it to be convincing that it looks like a bird. All right, so that one's flying this way. That one's coming this way, that way. That one's sort of flying away, but it's flying in. You see this one flying that way, but it hits this one that's flying back this way. The leg points up this way. All these little spikes. I need something to direct back, like from each of these positions. And this isn't like it's a rule. This is just I believe that having more of these things directing the focus back at Naomi, since this is cover, and the book is very much about her first. It's important to make sure that in the cover, the focus is where it belongs, which is on her. So what should I use? I mean, one mushroom, that sort of makes it seem like somebody just drew a mushroom because they needed something to fill up some space. So I'm going to do some different, a few different kinds here, like this little mushroom, which now that I'm drawing it, I'm realizing it is absolutely going to be difficult to paint. But no, that's okay. And then this will be a rotting piece of wood here in the foreground that these mushrooms are growing out of. And I'll have like this. So we're seeing the interior of the wood over here, at least some of it. There should be a fair amount of shadow there. I'm gonna put like a burl on this portion of the log. Okay, all right. So this is just like, this is still supposed to be bark, I guess. There's some bark that remains on this log. Not a lot, but some. And then, what else do we want to do? And some frogs, but I don't know if this burl I need to make sure that this is obvious what it is, and this is right here is going to be where the thingamabob goes. And then I still think maybe some more. I wonder if maybe there should actually be some feathers, kind of. I bet that would be good too. With a magpie that's just like diving maybe here. I think. I don't know why it's diving, or even if magpies like do that very often. Swooping? Is that what it's doing? Yeah, so that one's pretty far back, but it's headed down, and again, that mushroom's headed up. Maybe I'll add, that's, I think, part of it. Part of what's bugging me about this mushroom here is that it's all alone. So we'll give it a couple little buddies, because what mushroom wants to just be out there all alone, especially a big mushroom like that. Everybody's just looking right at him, judging him for all his bigness. Perfect. All right, that magpie, another magpie, maybe. And I guess if I do, you know, there's a limit to how many you can do before it starts to just take the focus away from the what's supposed to be the focus. All right. Yeah, oh, man, I don't know. It sort of seems like there's still something about that leg that's really bothering me. But I'm gonna get to that after I get some of this, some of these cast shadows layered in here. Trying to think about what a magpie feather would even look like if it was just floating down, but I don't know. I mean, if I have enough magpies flying around, I probably don't need any just random feathers falling. I wish I had... Well, there's no reason to wish I had more references. I could just get more, but let's say we got a magpie like this or something. It's like I'm trying to get the anatomy here. Okay, this one is... I'll figure the rest of that anatomy out in a little bit later, I think, but maybe this might be working. Or should I figure it out now? Yeah, right about now. You know, if I don't figure it out now, I gotta figure it out later. So I guess I'm just figuring it out now, so I don't have to figure it out later. And I think this is more or less, yeah. So we'll say he's kind of slowing down, maybe. Kind of the idea, I guess. Yeah. But it's got to be a bit bigger than this. He's not... The magpies they're not that small. I have a... sometimes I get a compulsion to, like... or I feel a compulsion to open the beaks up, but as James Gurney said in one of his videos about, he does a lot of really, well, I mean, he does a million amazing things, but one of the things that he does is dinosaurs, and I think I'm sure he's done some with the mouths open, but I think what he was saying is, like, if you look at animals in nature, they almost never have their mouths open. And so if you're trying to do something that's more realistic, then having them open the mouth might not be the best choice. Obviously, if I was, if the magpie's attacking something with its beak, you probably want the beak open, because it'll make for a better image. But okay, so maybe this thing's got some holes in it, I don't know. And then this back here, I'm not 100% sure even what was going on there, but her shoulder is somewhere in here, or this, who knows at this point. She's got so much fabric on her, it's really hard to tell, even for me, and I drew it. What does that tell you? Do we need any frogs in the... I mean, I just really like drawing the frogs, but I don't think we need any. They're just gonna be a distraction, maybe, from the important stuff here. The mushrooms aren't super important either, unless, she makes potions, and at some point I'm probably gonna have her putting some ingredients into a cauldron, and maybe these mushrooms will help with that. All right, so her hand is pointing down here, and I really think if I can get a magpie sort of looking up at that hand, almost like she's saying, come here, I think that'll be good. All right, so it's gonna be pretty big. Almost like a small dog size is what I'm gonna go for here. And we'll see how that turns out. Wow, if it's that big, I don't know that I'm gonna be able to get it to fit on this actual page now that I think about it. Or now that I'm seeing it. I already thought about it. All right, so let's get the beak. Maybe it'll be like this. And then the head will be like this. And yeah, I mean, birds do some weird stuff with their heads. So maybe we'll try and have it so that it's kind of like looking around at her, looking up and around. I don't want to do too much detail stuff, or else I may end up regretting it. Okay, so like so, and then, but if it's up underneath this and this, so I'm basically just drawing a what is it? Is there a word for a triangular cylinder, or is it just still a cylinder? So the bird is like, if its body is like, maybe, so the wings would be down here. I may need to just look at another magpie eventually. Like right now, I mean, I'm doing too much detail for the for my own good, but if I get this pose right, I don't know how many magpie feet I drew. If I get this pose right, then I can worry about the like looking at an actual reference of a magpie later. It's time to stand. I'm not gonna. Because I'm not gonna listen to my watch. Can't tell me what to do. Okay, so, this doesn't look like a magpie to me at all. And, well, I mean, it's, part of it is I did a skull, like, this circle to get the skull positioned, and that was still in there, but that's not the only reason. I need to see a magpie from... I'd like to see a magpie from that angle, but the head goes up a bit more, kind of at that angle, and then comes back this way, and then there's a bit more. Yeah, it's actually more. It's a little farther. I'm looking at a reference that I drew a while back, and then the beak, the one that I, from the one that I drew, and some of them are a bit exaggerated, but this is looking magpie-er, but still not quite. And like I said, my hope is not to like have someone who studies magpies to be like, wow, that is exactly I don't know why they talk like that. Sorry, that's exactly like a magpie's I could spot that that's a magpie from a mile away or whatever. All I want is oh wow, that's weird. Okay, so for some reason I was messing that up too, but it looks like the beak, it's like this. Sorry, so I kept drawing the it's almost like a pair of shears, the way that the beak and the feathers work. I was getting that backwards somehow. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to get this to work with the same pose anymore now that this head is quite a bit larger. But I'm getting closer to a magpie, at least. All right, and then one of the things that I could do is I could just take my reference from over there and just well, I mean, I'm not going to trace it, but or I could trace it. I mean, that's not illegal. In case anyone wonders, what the rules are. If you drew something yourself and you trace it, that's not plagiarism. Or it shouldn't be. Okay, so this magpie is looking up there, kinda. All right. Man, I don't know how to get this the way I need it, but and now it sort of looks like the bird is like laying on the ground. I'm not gonna struggle with this for the next 45 minutes. What I really need to do is I'm gonna think about it. What I want is a magpie that is looking up at the hand. Oh yeah, well, I didn't even think about that, but I don't know that I have, I do know that I don't have any references of a magpie that is looking up like this, but I think that might actually be the best pose for what I'm trying to do here. So it'll be more or less I have to hope that there's some kind of reference similar to this somewhere online if I want to try to get it to do what I want it to do. But I mean, the more it's just so complicated. This is one of the reasons that artists older and better than me, or younger and better than me, do thumbnails to work this stuff out before they come in and try and solve it. But I do think that there's value in watching someone try to solve these problems in real time. There's definitely value in trying to solve these problems in real time. So you're seeing me erase and redraw, and that hopefully is instructive. You know, it shows that you can erase, you're allowed to. All right. She's headed towards the town. I don't know if this should be, this log here is just a log. There's not anything special about it. Maybe I'll get a couple more mushrooms. Like this mushroom here. It's not a, this isn't, there's no actual mushroom that this is just based on mushrooms I've seen. And so they kind of, I don't think I've ever seen one on the like end portion of a cut tree, but I wanted to put this one here to add a little bit more stuff to look at on that side of the tree, this log. I wonder if I should add a frog though, or just more mushrooms maybe. Yeah, why not? We'll just do mushrooms for now, and then I have plenty of good mushroom references already, so it's just a lot easier for me to do these and get moving on than trying to figure out the anatomy for a magpie when it's standing on two legs and looking up at a hand like a dog. It's something I've never seen and don't know that I ever will unless I draw it myself, and I'm clearly not ready for that yet. Alright, I'm gonna try and get these mushrooms a little bit more mushroomy. Have a mushroom out a bit more. Alright, that mushroom's looking good. This mushroom is not quite placed on the ground yet, so that's better. And then I'll add, I don't know if I should have maybe a puffball or two. If I add too much stuff down here, it's just gonna start to detract from what's going on up here. So I should maybe start calling it quits on that. Top of the beak goes like so, I think. I also need to start shading these magpies a bit. Yeah, I mean, the sun it's coming down, maybe like that, but that's also not 100% true because, it's not, I'm not limited to that, or I'm not limiting myself to that in order to make sure that I have the ability to use the light to push the attention where I want it to go in the image. So I think maybe what I'll end up doing is making it so that the darkest stuff is actually not Naomi, and then the rest of the stuff being a little bit brighter so that it looks like she's in the sunlight. And yeah, I think I'm gonna end up just drawing that leg some more to get a better sense of what it's supposed to, or what it actually looks like. And then, I'll have once I know more about what it looks like, I'll have a better sense of how it actually works. Yeah. Okay. part of me wants to start inking this, but I only have about 15 minutes left before I need to go get my daughter. Oh boy. Oh, and I know that tomorrow I need to start getting after it on the Beowulf stuff, which I'm very excited about getting back into. But I wanted to get farther along on this image as well. What do you do? What would you do if you sang out of tune? Or if I sang out of tune, I don't know. Would you bail? I'd bail. I wouldn't bail. It's a joke. Unless it like hurt my ears. If it actually hurt my ears, I'd have to bail. But you wouldn't want to hurt me, you know. I wouldn't want to hurt you. All right, shade in here under these caps a bit because there's no light under the caps. Yeah, I don't know. Should she be holding something? It's just tough to say. Should her arm be that? Should she have that big a forearm? Also can't say. But she does right now. Oh yeah, that's what I said I was gonna do. I was gonna add some skulls. So they live in the time of plague, or in a time of plague, so there are a lot of people dying. I would imagine some of them just died in the woods. And it's, yeah, maybe that's what, maybe that needs to be down here. We can have, all right, so maybe we'll do that. And be able to do a couple things with this, probably. All right, so this skull, I am not 100%, I'm not 100% concerned with making it anatomically correct, right? The main purpose of this skull, in case that's unclear for any reason, is not to show off my understanding of anatomy. The main purpose of this skull is to make this environment real enough so that it feels real. Okay, so like one of my favorite drawers of skulls is Mike Mignola. I'm sure he could definitely draw an actual skull accurately, but what he does so much of the time, and that I think is super cool, is he draws skulls that look cool. I don't know if that... Yeah, sorry, my alarm went off, which means I gotta leave in a couple minutes here. So the jawbone's like this. I don't know that we even need more than one, but this skull's sort of looking up at Naomi. This mushroom just looks like it's weirdly existing. It's just existing very weirdly in this world, in this environment. But what we might be able to do right before I take off here is, because that mushroom over there, we got a big mushroom over there. I can probably get this big mushroom right here. Yeah, Okay. Yeah, I like this. I like it. Okay, so we can see under there, but I want this to be more like that. Mignola also does, excuse me, Mike Mignola, Mr. Mignola, if you will, because he's such an awesome artist and an awesome guy. His quarantine sketchbook is, it was like such an awesome present that my wife got me for Christmas. Just really, really cool. And all the Hellboy comics that I've read have been either both hilarious and spooky. I wouldn't say they're scary to me, but okay. So we got that skull. We got this mushroom here. Maybe, I don't know that I want to have a mushroom actually growing out of the skull. It feels kind of corny. But we'll get these guys. We'll say this is this ground plane. That was a hill that she crested, let's say, and then she's coming this way. And I don't know. I mean, I think it's possible that if I continued on, we could take this farther, I'm sure. Sorry, you probably couldn't even see that skull. And it's also at a super weird angle in the video, so it looks askew. But anyway, here's what I was able to do today for this cover. See what else I can do with it as time goes on. For anybody who watched, thanks a lot. And I'm looking forward to making some more progress on this pretty soon. Take care.